been in the mood to tell no stories or anything like that. It's just been a bunch that's happened over the last couple weeks. It's just sometimes things in life will just compound on each other. It'll seem like it's just a big snowball and it just picks up steam as it goes. So for where to start on some of the lovely stuff that's happened. I'm a little sick right now, so that's why I sound the way that I do. But so I guess I can start with car problems. We had the Fiesta. A couple weeks ago, we had a bad storm, or it was supposed to be really bad, and it didn't end up being quite as bad as what it was. We had a bunch of really bad wind, but there were talks of tornadoes and other stuff like that, which didn't happen, which was good. But that was a Tuesday. I don't remember what day of the month it was, but so, sitting at work, wondering if they're going to tell everybody that we need to go home and all that fun stuff like that, and like a bunch of people were teleworking, so there wasn't a whole bunch of people there. And then let's get this out of the way. So we're sitting there, and they never had us go home, which was fine. Like I said, the storm wasn't as bad as what they said it was going to be. So I go out, get in the car. The car's 90-something thousand miles now. It hasn't really had too many issues with it. But I went out, started the car, looked down, the check engine light's on. Like, okay, so there's a little town just out of work. They got a little 2-car coin op. And it was kind of sprinkling, the wind was blowing and stuff, and it's like, I'll just pull in there real quick and check the car out, make sure that there's nothing obvious that I can't see. So I do that, but there's like siding and stuff all over the ground from like a building that's close to it from the wind. Like I said, it was blowing pretty bad that day. And so I popped the hood, nothing looked wrong. So it's like, I'll just go to parts store, have them check it out. So I go, they check it out, and it's they said the most likely thing was a evap purge solenoid was bad on the car. And so I was like, okay, I'll look into some of the stuff, and they gave me a little printout. And apparently with the Fiesta, that's a common issue. And like some of the things is the car will idle a little rough, and some people said that if you put gas in the car, it won't start for like 10 minutes. And then it will, and you get worse gas mileage. So, started looking around the part. One of the videos had a link to a part online, but and it was like $68, $70 for the part online, because you can get the little solenoid itself, but the problem is the way Ford designed it. There's 2 hoses that go and connect to the engine, and you need special hoses, and you can't get the hoses, and you can't take the hoses off the old one and put on the new one. So I looked there, I looked a couple places. I called the local Ford dealership, and they're like, well, we don't have one, but our Lincoln store does. And the Lincoln store used to be a Ford store up until very recently, so that's why they had the part for Fiesta. So I asked how much it was, and they're like $200, and I was like, I'm not going to pay that much. So go over and ordered online. It took about a week to come in, and I didn't want to do one of these while I was driving the Mustang to and from work, because the Mustang's exhaust has got just a little bit of drone, and I don't know how it would affect the video and affect the sound and everything. So anyway, part comes in finally, and it looks like you just unhook the hose from a spot, unhook it from another spot. There's a couple little plastic clips you unhook it from, and that's it. Well, I didn't see the little clip on the bottom, and I thought it was like a press clamp. And so just me not realizing what it was, I made it a lot more difficult than what it needed to be, which is the beauty of working on a car. And then I cut my hand all up. My arms were all, beat up from being right on the fan and all that fun stuff. The joys of working on cars. And anyway, so I was like, okay, I'll see if this works. And I go get the part in, finally start the car, check engine light's still on. I was like, okay, well, maybe if I just unhook the battery, that'll clear the fault. So I unhooked just the negative side, check engine light still on, and then I was like, well, I'll just unhook the battery for like 10 minutes, let it all reset. Did that, check engine light still on, and I've just had problems with like dealing with a bunch of stuff where you do it multiple times and it just doesn't seem to work for whatever reason with a bunch of stuff. So anyway, but when I went to go start the car right after it, it said that the tire pressure in one of the tires was low, and I didn't know which one. And that's kind of understandable right now because it's been getting hot and cold and all that stuff. And so it's like, I'll just get out my little air compressor, pump up the tire, no big deal. So I go to the back rear passenger tire. That was the first one I checked, and it said 11 pounds of air pressure. And I'm like, that's not good. And then I look back on the tire and I see a nail sticking out of it. And I'm like, well, that's just great. So I think I did that on a Thursday night, and I had to work on Friday, so I made an appointment on Saturday to get the tire fixed. And so the check engine light was on the whole time, and then I made an 8 o'clock appointment that Saturday to get the tire fixed. I go to the place, and they're like, yeah, we can get you in just a couple minutes. The guy's right here. And I'm thinking, okay, it's going to be like 20 minutes at the most for them to do this. So I just decided to stay there. And so, yeah, like 2 hours later, they finally patched the tire. And the report that I got back said one of the rear shocks is leaking. So I'm like, oh, great, more fun stuff. So I found a set of shocks, and the shocks are the stock ones. The front spring struts are all the original stuff from the car. It's 2017. And it's pushing close to 100,000 miles. So I found a set of both for like $153. So I'm going to order those soon and put those on the car. I might film it just because that always be a fun show. Anyway, so I'm driving to work today though, and I looked down and the check engine light went off. Well, with the check engine light too, I was like, okay, well maybe since it's an evap thing, I have to get and clear the code out so that the check engine light will go out on the car to see if what I did even fixed the car. I don't know. The only thing that has been happening that's been a plus is I was getting like 37, 38 miles per gallon, and now I'm getting back to 40, and they said that was one of the things is you'd get worse gas mileage and stuff. So I'm going to work today. Look down. Check engine light's cleared, so I guess what I did actually fixed it the first time, and I guess it just needed to run through everything in order for it to fix itself. But the fun stuff with vehicles right now, our Mustang, the blend doors inside the dash are all messed up. One of them is completely unhooked, so if I want it to blow out the vents, I have to reach up underneath the dash, move a little thing. So for Christmas, I got all new blend doors. It's just when the weekends it's been raining or really windy or bad, so I haven't been able to do that yet. So I have those for the Mustang that I'm going to have to try to get in and fix soon, which is, I've done that multiple times, and you get to do the lovely car yoga for it, so that's going to be so much fun, because I have to take apart passenger side of the dash, I have to take the gauge cluster out, all kinds of fun stuff. But I'm at work about 2 weeks ago also, and I get a call, our van won't start. I'm like, okay, well, I got a message. And for whatever reason, the cell phone reception at work has just been horrible here lately. So I get a message, the van won't start, what's all this mean? And I didn't get the pictures. So I call home, and I was like, okay, well, I need to finish what I'm doing here real quick. And then that should be I have other stuff to do, but as long as I get what I was doing done, I could come home. So I said, you know, I'll be home in about an hour or so. Let me finish what I'm doing and let everybody know. So I get home. The van is a 2019 Chrysler Pacifica. So I look at it, and it's like shifter linkage messed up, and parking brake assist, all this stuff is just warning signs on the dash, and it's not starting. So I'm like, with the temperature getting cold, it's the original battery, so the battery in it's getting about 5 years old, 4 or 5 years old. So I'm like, the battery's probably dead. So I get out my multimeter, test it. It says 10.7, and I'm like, okay, it's the battery. So I have the Mustang there, I have the Pacifica there, and I'm like, I'll just jump it off real quick and see if that helps. So I got my jumper cables out, hooked them up. The van started up, and I was like, okay. And then I was like, I'll run to the parts store real quick to, see if they can test the battery. Well, I had to mess with it and turn the van on and off a couple times because it went all haywire. It wouldn't shift, and then it would just like rev, and it was acting like the parking brake was on. So I had to like turn the van off, turn it on, hit the parking brake like 2 or 3 times, and do all this stuff. Then it finally moved. And we have a couple different parts stores close, and I was going to go to one, and then I remembered some guys talking about how that they've used the batteries from that parts store, and it wasn't that they've had issues. And one guy said his car got fried from it. So I was like, I'll just go to the other one. So I go there, and I asked the guy, and he's like, well, we can't tell if the battery is good or not, but we can see if it needs to be charged. And I'm like, that's perfectly fine. Maybe we'll see something. So the guy goes out, hooks the little thing up to it, and it just says bad. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of what I was figuring. So we go in, look up the battery, and there's like a couple batteries that it could be. So we like walk in and out of the store a couple times to look at batteries to make sure it's the right one. So he's like, but I can't put this battery on for you, which ain't a big deal. It's a battery. But they have, they just don't want to deal with the liability if something happens and they fry your car. So like a lead acid battery was like $249, and a gel battery, which is better, was like $278. So I got the better battery because it wasn't that much more. So I get to the house, take the old battery out, put the new battery in, then I have to take the old battery back to the parts store to get the core charge back for it. So did all that fun stuff. But it's just been a whole bunch of stuff like that too. And then back in August, I put in a claim for the VA. I know it looked weird, but I was just thinking for a second. In August, I put in a claim for the VA for sleep apnea, which the VA did the test and said that I have it, and I got a CPAP machine and all that fun stuff. And sleep apnea is a secondary condition for a bunch of stuff, for like PTSD and allergic rhinitis, which is something that the VA also says that I have. Like the last time in Iraq after I was blown up, like I've just had issues with my nose draining and all this stuff like that. And they did this whole PACT Act thing like a year ago, and they finally said that if you have rhinitis, it's now recognized. So I got that, and I was like, well, sleep apnea is secondary to that. That might help me be able to get sleep apnea and bump my rating up a little bit. So in the VA fashion that it is, it's like nothing. I'm checking stuff, and then it said something about a CMP exam. And I was like, why do I need to do a CMP exam? I did one in October. So the CMP exam, they'll send you a packet. You go to this place. They ask you what's going on. They do a whole evaluation. They send it up. Your person doing the stuff looks at it, and then they decide. But even putting in the claim was a whole show within itself, because I did it before, and I had to do a supplemental claim and all this other fun stuff. So anyway, I'm looking because it's been like 6 months, and I go on the site and it just says closed. It doesn't say nothing else, just closed. And normally if it does that, you can pull up the letter that they sent to you. Couldn't do any of that, and I haven't looked since, because I was like, well, that's weird, and that's probably not good. So I called the VA, the number that they give to ask, and they're like, yeah, it was closed 2 days ago or whatever. And I was like, well, can you see the decision? And she's like, the lady I was talking to was like, yeah, it was denied. And she's like, that's all it really says. And I was like, okay, thank you. So now I've been trying to look about how to get a copy of the exams that were done so I can see, because I'm gonna have to do an appeal to this and take it to a higher level, which is always fun. You know, doing this stuff, it shouldn't be this hard, but it's so difficult. And it's just like the last month or so, it always seems like that. It's just bad stuff is happening. And I was really hoping that the VA claim was actually going to get approved this time, and I wasn't going to have to go through all this again, because each time that you do this, you hope for the best, and then when it doesn't happen, it aggravates you so much, because there's people out there that are getting so much that there's nothing wrong with it, so it kind of pisses you off a little bit. And to be honest, when that happened, I was just so fed up, and like it just depressed me to no end. And because of that happening, and then the stuff with the cars, like it's just all affected me. And then Sunday, I was gonna go start making breakfast so that I could take it to work each morning. I normally make like hash browns and sausage, and I'll make that together, and then in the morning I'll warm it back up, and then I'll put a couple eggs in it, and that's my breakfast for the morning, or for the day. And so we have one of those little Ninja air fryer oven things, and I'm making the sausage, and the hash browns are in the little oven cooking, and it just stops at like 7 minutes and 30 seconds. And I'm like, okay, that's weird. So don't think that much more of it, but I was like, maybe it just got hot or something. No, it died. So now had to buy another one of those. So I think at that point when that happened, I don't know, it didn't put me down as much, because I was just like, this is just getting ridiculous. And the bad part about it is sometimes when you're in that mindset, well, not sometimes, when you're in that mindset, what happens is, if there's just one little negative thing that happens, it just keeps building and building and building. And it keeps putting you mentally like further and further down that hole. And it gets harder and harder to just pull back up from it. So, I don't know, even though like I haven't been feeling great the last couple of days, I'm really trying not to let this stuff bother me, because regardless of whatever's going on, I still have to go to work. You know, when I come home, you still want to play with me. There's things that I still have to do. And even though if there's stuff bothering me, I have to, I know some people wouldn't like this, I have to push through. Because no matter what, I'm not going to give up. I'll feel like this for a little bit, and then even if I'm feeling like this, I'll just keep going on, because that's all I know how to do, is just keep moving forward. Because I'm not going to back down, and I'm not going to quit. And so if anything from this long video, if you ever watch it, just know that in life, stuff is always going to be in your way. Stuff is always going to slow you down. There's going to be good times, there's going to be bad times, but the thing about it is you have to push through no matter what. And people won't like me saying that. Certain people won't, because they'll talk about toxic masculinity and all this other crap that I don't really want to get into, but it's the truth. You know, I've been thinking more positive the last couple of days, and it's been going a little bit better. So if you keep thinking that way, and keep just one foot in front of the other, and keep fighting and keep going, might not get great, but it should get better. But the big thing is no matter what, never give up, because if I give up right now, there's too many people that I can't let down in life. So, like, I'm not going to do anything bad to myself or anything like that. So, that's nothing ever in my mind. But sometimes you just want to just ball up and just go in a dark corner and be all by yourself and just feel like that you just want to fall into nothing. But like I said, that's something that I won't do, because it's not in me to do that. And if there is anything that you ever do get from me, I hope it is that no matter what, you're going to keep going and you're going to keep fighting and just keep pushing through any obstacle. Because there's a lot of times in life, the easy thing to do is to give up. The harder thing to do is to keep the struggle and keep grinding and just keep moving forward. And so with that, I just want to say, I love you, fam.